Welcome, everyone. Like me, Dr. Angela Lauria, founder of Difference Press and creator of the Author Incubator, believes that we all have powerful stories within us, and it is up to us to get them out into the world. So welcome, Angela. And first of all, I understand that you are a new member of the Fabulous After 50 tribe.
I turned 50 about 6 months ago, and I am excited for part two to be even better than part one. So
That's exactly the mindset that I have as well. So, first of all, congratulations. And secondly, well, why don't you start actually by sharing a little bit about who you are, where you are, what you do, and why you do it?
excellent. Okay, well, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much. I am a book publisher, an editor, book consultant, strategy consultant. I've been working in publishing since 1994. So I got my first job in publishing a week before I turned 21.
Gosh.
And it was total luck. I was in the right place at the right time.
That's
I had
it.
a professor who hooked me up with a New York Times bestselling author and investigative journalist. At the time, he was actually breaking I don't know if you remember the Iraqi War Abu Ghraib story.
Right,
So
right.
I was working on a book about that. Most of my early career, I was doing espionage books,
Oh, my.
real, not novels, but
Yeah.
real. And I live in Washington, D.C., although I am in the middle of a move to the UK. And one of my first jobs was driving around the DC area, taking pictures of dead drop sites where spies would leave secret information. So I
But
still
that's a
get
book. I
very
hope you've written a book about your adventures as well, because that is already fascinating.
it was a great experience, and my first boss was incredible, and he had a very famous agent. His name is Sterling Lord. He actually just died at 103. So when I
Wow.
say second half, I've got a model.
Yeah.
And he was also Jack Kerouac's agent, like all these famous people. And his deals, which is one of my big principles in life, but his deal was having lifelong clients.
Right.
So his clients would be like, my boss was with him for like 80 years.
Right.
Yeah, like it was,
Yeah. But how beautiful. Because that means
it's
you really know each other, you trust each other. You can also probably let the other one grow or stimulate in areas that they don't know. And it sounds like an amazing adventure because you're really sharing. I mean, writing is so unique to us, right, as a person, that it really is like a very, very strong bond, I can imagine,
very
because you're growing together or it doesn't even have to be together, but at least alongside that you go through different phases, right? I dare say what you
yeah.
write now, age 50, is not what you used to write age 25. I came across actually very funny last week. My ex-husband just suddenly realized that we had left stuff in storage in 97 when we moved to Cameroon. And we'd entirely forgotten about it. Of course, there was a lot of crap in there, but it also has a box with all my diaries since the age of 11. I was convinced they were at my parents' house. Some bits I still couldn't bring myself back to read because I really write from the heart. But it was just interesting to see the person that I was at 20, at
Yeah.
25, at 30, and now at 56. Obviously, you grow and you mature, and the things which you find important and how you write about them change too, right?
Yep, for sure, for sure. So I always saw myself as a writer. I have it here. I don't know if people are watching this on video, but
Yeah,
you'll
yeah,
see.
it's on YouTube too. Yeah.
This is my very
Oh,
book. And I was 7 years old when I
look
wrote
at
it.
that.
It's called
Yeah.
Lifelong Chances. I don't know why it's seven. I called a book Lifelong
My
Chances.
goodness. Yes.
I wrote my first novel when I was 13.
How lovely to discover so young what your mission is and to grow and do different things then in it, right?
Yeah, so I've done anything you can think of, from taking pictures of mailboxes in Washington, D.C. I've done editing, proofreading, marketing, building websites, promoting authors through PR. I've been a ghostwriter, so I've ghostwritten 29 books, maybe 30 now, because I just did one this year recently. I'm an author, so I have
Yeah.
8 books. I have a Wall Street Journal bestseller, USA Today bestseller. So I have done everything you can do on all sides of books. And one of the things I think that is unique about my perspective, because I've been around the block. That's one of the things, it's actually one of
Yeah,
the things I love most about turning 50.
exactly.
I like why I wouldn't go back. I've done all the I get all the
Yeah,
things. I get all the things. I
yeah.
don't need to experiment. But is that there's no right or wrong or good or bad path to writing a book. Every single book journey, and I've helped over 2,000 people write their books, either as a ghostwriter or a book coach or a publisher or an editor, literary agent. Like there's no job I haven't had. And every single journey is unique and different. Some
Yeah.
people are just writing because they want to leave. We did a book I love. It's called Farm Girl Goes Home. It's an 82-year-old otolaryngologist wrote this book. And it was because her granddaughter had written a paper for school on who I admire most. And she wrote about her grandmother. And then her grandmother was like, I would like to leave my
It's
life.
leaving a legacy, right? It's leaving something. And I think that is already such a great point, because we're talking about the fabulous after 50s, right? And it's sort of, okay, so not everybody listening wants to write a book. A lot of us do. 3% of people who start a book actually finish it, was
Yep.
what they use in the UK as a reference. I mean, that's incredible, right? It's so little.
And you're one of them, sister.
Yes, I am one of them. Sorry, off the record, I was sharing the amount of books which are almost ready, but still not single one has seen the light of day. But voila, okay. But it is that idea that, first of all, there are very many different reasons, and that this 50 plus is often also about contributing, about, you know, taking stock a bit about what we've done so far. What can we give back? And also, you know, you were talking about that 82-year-old lady. I interviewed a gentleman not long ago about the growing role of these young grandparents, right? That parents today in our society, they don't have time to do what they used to do, which is also, you know, sharing the values, the perspective. They're not just doing, but having time to just, you know, maybe even get bored or stare out the window or play with some stones on the beach. And that through writing, I mean, I believe writing is very therapeutic. So, I mean, you were also saying people write for different reasons, right?
One of my fabulous over 50 authors, Dr. Mindy Pels, she writes about fasting and menopause as a way to like manage the menopause system. She just got a $500,000 book contract from Hay House for her second book. So she's done a couple books with me now. We've been together for a few years. And so whether it's developing a career as an author where you're getting a $500,000 contract, like that's amazing. That's not my typical client.
Yeah.
You're just writing a book for your granddaughter and your great grandchildren might never meet. Like, again, not my typical client, but those are sort of both the ends. And then everything in between. I have people use books to get speaking engagements, people who write their books to build their thought leadership, who are writing their book to sell a product or a program,
or to heal.
Get funding.
Funding as well. Yeah.
Like that's a big one. One of our authors writes about, she's an inventor of sleep technology. So she writes about how to get good sleep, and she's a consultant for those elite military groups on how to get sleep when you're like in the woods standing up and have 20 minutes. Like she's like a sleep ninja. And then she had a new product she invented, wanted money for it, wrote a book, and was able to circulate that.
And it's sort of in my environment as well, maybe because one of the associations I'm linked with, Global Woman, they've been doing it for a few years now, that they have this collection of stories, and it's an awful lot of women who are using books to also heal, and often have had something rather traumatic, whether in their youth or in their marriage or whatsoever, who make sense of it through the book, but also want to use it in order to reach out to other people in that group, you know, who don't have to be completely on their own like others do. So, I mean, there are lots of reasons. So, okay, so you are a writing coach then. Do you take your clients all the way through? I mean, would you advise anybody writes a book, or is it just for certain people?
Oh, well, listen, this is what I advise on that. So if you want to write a book, particularly if your book is waking you up at night. So if you wake up in the morning, you're thinking about writing a book, if it has popped in your head 3 or 4 times, there is a way to do it. There's a way to do it cost effectively. There is a way to do it where you may not make money, but that's okay. I don't make
Yeah.
money when I
Yeah.
go skiing in Vail.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if you go to Disney World, you're not making money. So if this is a personal goal, then there is a way to do it in whatever budget you have. This is a doable and achievable thing if you want it. If you don't want it, but you feel like you should, or
Right.
people, you're going to be in the 97% of people that don't
Right.
fit.
I get
Don't
you.
even, it's fine.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah,
give me.
you've got to have it in you, right? It's got to be something. Well, I'm certainly in the first category, that's for sure. I mean, for years now. But I mean, it's, as you say, there's also many reasons why we don't do it. I mean, some people, of course, it's the writing side that but I think for a lot,
If it's writing, if it's like whatever the reason you're not doing it, if you really want to, there's a solution.
yeah.
If you really want to,
Yeah.
there won't be a solution.
No, and I think lots of people have probably what I have, and I don't know if it's generational or just silly limiting beliefs from the past. It's more the technical side. I mean, the writing the books, I mean, people could give me a topic and I could write them a book a day. I really could. That's really not my problem. The writing, I love writing, I'm extremely creative, etc. But it's then I get blocked by the, not so much who would want to read it, because same thing, I think I would write it for me and just because it wants to be written, right? Because it's waking me up at night, what you've just said.
Right.
But it's then it gets stopped by the finance side, the technical side, all the rest which goes with it, if it was writing for writing's sake. So, okay, what would you want to say to a 50+ audience then?
About writing a book?
Yeah, I mean, if we've talked about the various reasons you would want to do, you were talking in your notes about writing a book that makes a difference.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. I mean, do you guide them through the whole thing?
That's a trick sentence. So let's talk about it. Writing a book that makes a difference. For some people, making a difference is helping other people, like you've talked about with like Global Woman. For some people, making a difference is making a difference in your own life, right? I just want to get it out of my head. Sometimes like with like trauma or something, writing down your whole story in an organized way. You think about how disorganized your brain can be if you've gone through, let's say, a childhood trauma. And especially if you've been seen maybe in different ways that you don't appreciate. Just having to do the work of organizing your thoughts will make a difference for you. Yeah. You'll know how to tell your story. Make a difference could also mean getting clients for your landscaping business. Yeah. So make a difference is a trick sentence.
That's true. It means something different to everyone.
Yes. And I support all of that. So the first thing I want to say is if you have a hunch you should write a book, there is a reason to have a coach. And that does not have to be someone you pay. And I actually just wrote a book on this, on how to get free coaching. I'll share that in 1 second. But if you keep it in your head, every author, I mean, you can watch it. Any author, watch any movie about an author, you'll see this. There will always be a reason not to write it. And that's sort of like, if you think about it like photography can only capture a point in time, and it only captures like this 2D facade. It doesn't capture the whole thing. And your book also will not capture the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, I just want to add one thing. I want to change one thing. You change, you get more information. There's always a reason not to
Never stops. Yeah.
It will never stop. So the only way to do that is to get something external.
Yes.
Holding you accountable. And that could be accountable just to making a decision. Yes or no, you want to do this. So like the technology stuff, there are so many programs now that are a couple $100 and they'll do all the technical stuff.
Yeah.
That
should not be the reason, right? It's hiding again. Maybe we just hide because we're scared to put ourselves out there or whatever, right?
That is where coaching can be really helpful. Is one of the first things I do on the like strategy side is figure out, do you actually really want to do this? Here are the real pros and cons. I've seen so many books, so many authors. I've had authors on the New York Times bestseller list. I've had authors sell no books. Like I can tell you what's going to happen. And we can kind of game that out. And sometimes that's therapy. Like I've had clients that have written books or wanted to write books confronting a sexual abuser that's still alive.
Yeah.
There's some good reason. And maybe they're, still in some way interdependent with them because of another loved one. there are good reasons not to get your book out there. So you need that outside perspective. So now let me talk about the amazing future we are living in, where you can get free coaching. The best coaching for sure is somebody who you vibe with, who has a lot of experience, who can listen to you personally one-on-one. And that's really expensive. I mean, I know working with me is like a privilege that not everyone can afford. However, the second best option I have found is these generative AI tools like ChatGPT and Claude. If you begin to ask questions, give your scenario and ask questions like, what will happen if I publish this book? How many books am I likely to publish? What are you can get the most amazing feedback. Why? Because so many coaches like me have written so many articles that have been sucked into Chat GPT. So will it be as good as working one-on-one? No. But if money is the thing that's holding you back, learn these generative AI Q&A interrogatories. I have a son who is in his last year of high school in the US. And one of the big things, the test the kids have to take in the US is called the SAT, Scholastic Aptitude Test. They now have these AI tutors. So if you want a SAT tutor, it can be $5,000. They now have these free AI tutors that like the Khan Academy has set up. They are very good. Are they as good as having someone come to your house?
But they're close. They're good.
Close, and they're getting better. So, track me down, find me in the show notes if you want to work with a person. But if not, don't give up on this dream. Certainly, if you've ever taken a vacation, if you've done a week in Tenerife, you can afford to do a book. And the thing is that and a week in Tenerife is amazing. And you get those pictures and those memories forever. There is all of that with a book. So you'll have the pictures and the memories and all of that stuff. But you will also have the way writing a book changes you. Writing and publishing a book will change you forever. And as we're coming into our wise woman selves, the crone, that legacy era of our lives, having your life experience, your expertise, your wisdom in a book really helps you step more fully. I mean, I know I wake up and I still feel like a kid. I'm like, who's coming? When are the adults coming?
I still wonder what I'm going to be when I grow up, and I'm 56.
Yeah, I got to figure this out. In this area that you write your book, it's like, it is a calming, centering, it's a horrible experience, but when it's done, it is, this thing.
I know I've got to do it as well. I can just feel it, because my problem is more what to write about, because I could write on so much. I feel like I've had 9 lives already. I feel there's a lot of wisdom on one hand, fun stuff on the other side. One of the books,
this is from lots of people have. So let's talk about this for a second. The which book to write, or how do I get started? What's my first book? What's the book topic? The mistake I will say that most people make is thinking about the content, which is what you're doing. You're about to lunch. I could write about chimpanzees in Malawi. They start listing to me the content they could write about. That is the absolute worst place to start. And that is one way to guarantee you won't finish. So a better place to start is with, what is the outcome I want from a book? So let's just say that's personal expression and to tell a story. Then the answer of what you should write about is the story that has the most impact. So for me, if I was doing a personal expression book, I have a pretty unique life experience, I think, in that when I was 15, I was an exchange student. When I was 29, I hosted an exchange student. And then I've also worked for an exchange student program. So I've got these 3 sides of it. And I have these amazing stories of how being an exchange student has changed my life.
Right.
No one will read this except maybe my former exchange student kids. It will not make me any money, but it is very foundational to who I am as a person. And the decision that I made when I was 13, I was watching Live Aid, And I started to see myself as a citizen of the world instead of an American.
Right.
And like growing up in the USA, everyone always told me like America is the best country in the world. And I was like, that seemed reasonable. And then I was like, wait, what? How? What? What? And I wanted to
the whole
see
door opened up, right? Yeah.
And so that global perspective has shaped the trajectory of my life. However, that's just a story I want to tell.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's just personal expression, but that's fine if I knew I wanted to do it.
But it's knowing first the outcome, what you want from it.
Knowing, and don't give yourself permission, don't indulge yourself in thinking about, because this is where people get stuck and where I have to really hold the container for them. Don't think about, well, but if I want to write about surviving a cancer journey, I might not have enough content. I might not be an expert. Because we can solve that in lots of ways. Solve it with journalism. We could solve it with poetry. There's 1,000 ways to solve that. It's the wrong place to start. Right. It's not where writers start. Writers aren't like, what do I have the content for? They're like, what is a good story?
Right.
Their case to sell newspapers or magazines or whatever, right? The second place to go before you let yourself think about what's in the book, do not think about what's in the book, is who do I want to write for?
Yeah.
And that's what's so great about Fabulous After 50 is like, we are talking to the fabulous ladies who have 50. And if you're listening and you're in the car with your mom and you're 26, please enjoy the tasty.
Exactly.
If you're here with your husband, great. I'm sure there's something your husband can learn from this. But the love and the attention that you are pouring into the equation is for a woman who is committed to being fabulous over 50. As are you and I.
Yes.
So the clarity on the what and the who is going to dictate the content. When you think about the content, you will end up in a loop that stops people from getting the book done, often for decades of being So
okay, but if we generalize that, because that was a great tip for me, and thank you to everybody who didn't particularly want to hear that answer. I mean, that's what I wanted, so thank you for that.
Yes, you're welcome.
Now, if we generalize again a bit, right? So we've talked about why write a book, what, in this Fabulous After 50. So if I ask you now, as I do in each episode, and sadly the episodes are only 30 minutes, is what 3 tips would you share then? So we're now getting to the point where the people are saying, right, okay, you know what? I am in that category of people who've been thinking, either I have a book in me, or who knows completely, I have a business. Lots of women entrepreneurs are listening to this program, and they know that whether it's for credibility, whether it's for visibility or whatsoever, they need to write a book. What 3 tips do you have for us?
Okay, my first one is the book publishing industry is changing very quickly, and it's very complicated. So education is going to be a big piece of this. There are many confusions that people have. They think that they'll make money off of book sales. They're trying to get a book contract. Like there's a lot. You have to educate yourself on what is happening in publishing now. Make sure you're looking at recent sources. There have been huge changes even in the last 12 months, and they're about to be even more big changes. So don't go to the library and take out a book 10 years old. You need fresh information. Make sure you're finding, there's great sources online. I love The Creative Pen by Joanna Penn. Jane Friedman has great information out there. Our site, the Author Incubator, has great information. So you've got to find up-to-date information. So that's number 1. Number 2 is think of this as a cost center, or as part of your, like I said, like either a vacation, if it's a personal project, but putting on a deck, landscaping your garden. Even though it may or may not make you money, it can. I have lots of authors that are making $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month, US dollars, probably similar in euros, from their books. I have many more authors that make nothing from their books. And it's a choice in how you write it. But either way, and even if you get a major book contract, like I talked about with my client, Mindy, no matter what, this is a cost center first.
Yes.
So you have money that you've put aside for a vacation. You have money you've put aside for a purse or for the garden center, beautiful flowers. this is something you're going to spend money on if it's important to you.
Yeah.
It'll be important to you, but you're going to spend some money. The great news is you can spend any amount of money, sort of like your garden. There are probably people who spent 100,000 euros on their garden. There are people who have gone to the garden center and spent 200 euros.
Yeah.
There's a big range and it changes what your garden looks like, but this is not, it doesn't start by being profitable.
Right.
You could make money, but it doesn't start that way.
Yes, it can't be your goal, right? Yeah.
Right. You got to go in knowing I'm going to spend some money. It's a vacation, I'm going to spend money. It's a garden, I'm going to spend money. You just got to know that. Okay. And the third thing I want to say is whether this is therapy or coaching or a partner or a best friend, there will be, and this is a concept I want you to start to think about, secondary gain from not getting your book done. So one of the most important things you can do is start to understand what's the upside for you from staying in a place where you talk about writing a book, but don't do it. This is something we focus on a lot with our clients because there will always be people, when you say I'm writing a book, people be like, oh my God, that's amazing. I'm going to buy it. You're incredible. When the book is done, it is different. You don't get that same juicy feedback.
Yes.
So really understanding what's the benefit of not doing it. That's when we uncover that, it flips a switch that gets more of my authors to finish than any other thing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Those are my 3 big tips.
Thank you. Now we have a few minutes left. Now your business. So what sort of people can come to you? How do they find you?
So our publishing company is Difference Press, like make a difference. Differencepress.com. And we work with nonfiction authors. That includes memoir, creative nonfiction, also self-help books, business books, relationship books.
Right.
We do health and wellness books. We have a lot of doctors, lawyers, accountants, financial advisors. And then we have a lot of women, fabulous over 50 women who are saying it's finally my turn. Right. Women who have maybe been in a career that was a second choice because it fit with their partner's career, and they're starting to focus on themselves and what they want. Most of our authors, but not all of them, come in when they're in that point of, I know I want to write a book, but I'm not 100% sure what the topic is or how to structure it or how to write an outline. And they stay with us all the way through their book tour. So publishing the book and promoting the book. So we do everything.
You do everything, right?
Yes. Some people come to us with a finished manuscript, which we may or may not accept. If we accept the manuscript, we do all of the editing, the publishing, the design, the marketing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a really one-stop shop, right?
We'll do the whole thing. But my favorite thing is to work with people who are like, I want to do this, but I'm not sure. I want it to be good. If I'm going to do it, I want it to be good. I don't need to do like a crappy thing. And they're looking for, you know, the most beautiful book project they can create. And it's a collaboration. And so it's me on the strategy side. And then I've got a team of editors, designers, and marketers and project managers. Even though I've been in books since 1994, I started Difference Press in 2010.
Right. You're a perfect example of fabulous after 50. And yes, I somehow personally believe there's a reason why you found me and came on this podcast.
I feel the same way. I'm so glad we got to connect, and hopefully some good ideas were generated.
Indeed. I shall reach out to you personally. Anyway, I shall make sure that all of these notes are in there. I also wish you good luck because Angela's actually moving to Bristol, UK. So a big journey there as well. And thank you for being you, and thank you for having shared all of that with us here today. And who knows, maybe you feel like coming back another time and we can take one specific area of it. So Angela, good luck to you and to the rest of you out there. A lot of food for thought. So maybe we need to stop asking ourselves those 3 questions that she put to us there. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Really.